Ooh, I'm out of practice. I still have no idea at what time this actually starts. I think we're good now. Hello, everyone, and welcome to whatever this stream is. I've been trying to look for something to stream that would keep me interested and go for a long time or just be something that I wanted to do. So recently, I have been wanting to play Trails of Cold Steel 3. And 4 came out this year, but I did not play it because I still had 3 in plastic wrap. But I had played the first 2 with one of my mods, Yuki Anasa 13. And I believe they changed their Twitch name to Fate underscore 13 now, XIII. They basically came to me the year Cold Steel 1 came out and said, like, hey, you gotta play this. And I said, like, okay, I will do that. But I needed to be like kind of pushed to do it, and they said that they wanted to watch me play it. So when he still lived up the street from me, he would come down every few days, and we would play for a couple hours. He would watch me play. I played it on my Vita TV, but you never heard of one of those. And so I played Trails of Cold Steel, and I loved it. Like, the characters really connected with me. The way that it takes place at a school and has like a day structure similar to how Persona does, really got me. And they do a really good job of characterizing all the characters, which will happen in a JRPG that's like a minimum of like 65, 70 hours. And then at the end, it has some wild plot twists, and I thought those were really cool. And then I got 2 when it first came out, and I played for like 10, 15 hours and kind of fell off of it because I just didn't like it as much as 1, because it didn't really have the same like school structure, because they are out in the world and actually going about war and living their lives and stuff. And I wasn't as into it, but eventually I ended up having him come over again, and I ended up beating 2, and 2 is fine. But I want to get to 3 now. And so the way that I wanted to do this, I don't know what I was expecting. I wanted to be able to watch a recap of Cold Steel 1 and 2, and then go into 3, because obviously I didn't stream 1 or 2, so if people come in, they're going to be like, well, I'm watching the third fucking game in a huge JRPG franchise, and there's no real good way for me to do this, because every recap is either like 4 minutes long or hours and hours and hours. And like, I'm not gonna sit here and stream myself watching hours and hours of recap of just Cold Steel 1 and then go into Cold Steel 2. So I found a decent 4-minute summary that gives you no introduction to any of the characters, but more the overall plot. So we'll watch that, and I'll talk over it a little bit and maybe pause it and say some stuff about that. But I can't. So, like, I'm gonna start playing Cold Steel 3 after we do this, and if you are interested in knowing about it more, I don't know, I guess just, like, ask questions, and anything I remember when I'm playing it, I will try to talk about, but, like, it, there's a lot. I mean, they're both, like, minimum 60-hour games. It's, like, 120 hours of content, but I did manage to find this 4-minute summary of the first 2 games, which gives just the overarching plot, so we will watch that. It is a YouTuber named JRPG Fanatic. He does a lot of good smaller recaps and stuff like that, so let's go in there. We'll just do that. My face will be in the corner, but we'll watch this. I'll pause it and talk about the characters a little bit some, and then we'll move on to Cold Steel 3 action.
Cold Steel shifts the focus from Liberl and Crossbell to the Empire of Erebonia. In Erebonia lies the small town of Trista, which holds the prestigious Thor's Military Academy, a school attended by many current and former military personnel. A new school year has just begun.
Okay, so I also forgot to explain that the Legend of Heroes is a huge franchise. Like, there is Trails in the Sky, and there's a billion other Japanese games. I've only played the Cold Steel games, so there's that, and it's all this huge overarching plot that crosses over with each other, but I don't know most of the stuff about that one. Yeah.
In which a new and unique class is found. Class 7, led by a young man named Reen. Its purpose? To become the winds of change needed in the Empire. Class 7 travels Erebonia during field studies to experience and learn about the Empire's internal struggles between the noble and reformist factions. During these studies, they faced off against a terrorist group known as the Imperial Liberation Front, led by a mysterious man named C. Their goal was to kill a high-ranking Imperial officer, the Blood and Iron Chancellor Osborne, but their plans were always circumvented by Class 7. After returning from their field studies, Class 7 would use their free time to explore an enigmatic old schoolhouse that contained many trials for them to overcome. After completing all the trials, they find a mysterious knight called Valimar. One night, Class 7 receives news that Gorelia Fortress, a fortress along the border of Erebonia and Crossbell, had vanished in an attack by Crossbell State. In retaliation, Chancellor Osborne makes a speech declaring war on Crossbell. During the speech, he is assassinated by C, who turned out to be Crow, one of Class 7's very own classmates. During the chaos, the Noble Alliance proceeds to occupy Heimdallr, the Imperial capital, and makes their way to Trista shortly after. Reen defends the school using Valimar with the help of his classmates and teachers, but were easily outmatched by Crow and his Azure Knight Ordine, which he found 3 years ago with the help of Vita, the second Anguis of Ouroboros. Reen was forced against his will to leave the fight while the rest of Class 7 distracted Crow.
Okay, so many. This is like so much anime bullshit that happens. The entire time you go through Trails of Cold Steel 1, there are no mechs or anything. Like, there is nothing like that at all. And then at the end, that stuff all happens, and that's why it's so mind-blowing. And then the giant mechs are part of the rest of it, and I think that's really weird, which maybe that was why I liked 1 so much more than 2, is because it had a bunch of mind-blowing revelations, and then all that stuff was just like totally normal everyday shit in the second game. But yeah, they introduce a lot of characters, so we'll figure it out as we go.
Reen wakes up in the mountains a month later near his hometown Ymir. Using Ymir as a base, he sets out to reunite with his classmates using Valimar and the Spirit Path. At this point, a civil war has broken out with the Noble Alliance having control of most of eastern Erebonia, including Thor's military academy, while the Imperial army attempts to hold the little ground they have left. After the class reunites, they are attacked by the Noble Alliance in Ymir. Reen boards the Noble Alliance's flagship, the Pantagruel, by the invitation of Duke Kayan, as he wants Reen to join him. Reen finds Princess Alphen on the ship and escapes with her with the help of his classmates aboard the Arce-class ship, the Courageous. The Imperial army begins a counter-offensive, and with the help of Class 7 retakes most of their territory. For their final mission, Class 7 were tasked with rescuing the royal family from the Imperial Villa, but upon arriving were unable to locate Prince Cedric. He was taken to be used to summon the Infernal Palace, which sealed the cursed knight Testarossa. Class 7 stormed the palace and met Crow, Vita, and Duke Kayan, who revealed his goal was to put nobles back in power under his rule using the Testarossa. However, Reen wasn't interested in Kayan's schemes, and is focused on rescuing Prince Cedric and bringing Crow back. A fight ensues, and after defeating Crow and Vita, Kayan forced the resurrection of Testarossa by forcing Prince Cedric into the armor. Class 7, along with Crow, successfully stops the knight, but Crow was killed in the process. Duke Kayan gets arrested by the Ironbloods under Chancellor Osborne, who also happened to be alive the whole time. The Civil War ends with Duke Kayan's arrest, and Reen would become known as the hero who ended it. Shortly after, Crossbell was annexed, and Reen helps the war effort under Osborne's command. As the school year comes to an end, Class 7 says their goodbyes to each other and disbands, with each person going their separate ways, with Reen staying at the academy.
Okay, so now that we've seen that, you know nothing about this franchise. But if you actually were going to try to go through it all, this YouTuber Lady Virgilia, she actually this video is an hour long, and it's just the first 2 chapters of the fucking first game, and she did them with different guests and a bunch of stuff like that, and they're hours and hours, and you can also do that for the second game. But yeah, I don't know, man. It just is so weird because there's so much happens. Even at the end there, I believe that Reen finds out that Chancellor Osborne is his dad. I don't think that was in there. And then Crow died. I don't think that Crow is actually dead. But we'll get right into it, and we'll introduce characters as they come up. But I have to hook up my PS4 now. So we're going to have to give me a minute. And to the person who asked Vanity Easel if I still upload to YouTube, I haven't streamed in months and months other than for Extra Life, so I will upload the stuff to YouTube when I am doing it now, but I had not been streaming anything to upload to YouTube. So with that, let me hook up the hot PlayStation 4 and we'll get back. We'll start here. I actually have to change a bunch of shit now so that this will work. So give me a minute.